Yes, hello. I'm James Rowlands, and today it's WNR380. It's AEW Prelude All Out. And I am not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by Jaxie. How you doing?
Hey, hey James, how you doing?
Oh, all better to have you on the show. Like I said, we watch the WWE stuff together, and sometimes maybe it's How can I put this? It's difficult to watch, but with Dynamite, I don't think there's going to be a problem.
No, it's very much a look forward to type show. Although I must admit, WWE is still the same. I still continue to watch it. However,
Yes,
its
yeah, we
patience a lot more.
we put ourselves through it for the people listening. Of course, I love of the product, but it's always good with AEW. But before we get into Dynamite and Rampage, we had some very sad news over the weekend, or as it was Thursday and Friday, and it was that Shannon Sprill, aka Daphne Younger, has unfortunately passed away, age 46. Obviously known for her time in WCW as Daphne with Crowbar and David Flair. She was in TNA as well, and it's just very upsetting because of we lose wrestlers all the time, but the way we've lost Daphne, a bit like a couple other women's wrestlers as well, it's just not good. And of course the question of mental health and everything like that. You heard the news, and obviously with social media, there's positives and there's negatives as well.
Of course, there's always a positive and a negative with anything. Look, when it comes to mental health, it comes to social media, and when it does come to the wrestling community, everyone I think can say that they were a little bit shaken from this news. And mental health is not a joke. Just know that anyone listening, if you do suffer with mental health, that there's always someone out there. There's some help out there. So please always look for it. Please find it. And yeah, just stay safe. It was terrible news, and my thoughts go out to that.
Yeah, without a doubt, like I said, everybody associated with the WNR podcast as well. So the best wishes to the family and friends. It's a horrible situation, but like you said, to be able to talk somewhat to someone, no matter who it is, just so that someone is there. And one of these things that I always go on about is the kind of duty of care, and the fact if it was just one person's responsibility to look after one other person and to make sure they were all right, a lot of these things, could be sorted out, but unfortunately, that's not the way the world works,
That we get that all the time. It's just all about knowing that there is someone out there that is always willing to listen. So just don't ever feel like you're alone.
Yeah, without a doubt, she will be missed. But we move on, like we said, AEW. We've got all, which kind of feels like one of the biggest AEW pay-per-views of all time, but we've got Dynamite and Rampage to get there first. So we'll start August 18th. Of course, the show opens with the intro video, and we get John Moxley and Eddie Kingston making their entrance, but 2.0 and Daniel Garcia jump them as they come through the crowd and beat them down. Hills get in the ring, and Matt Lee tells the crowd they took out their heroes, and now they got nothing. If you want a taste, they give it to you right here, right now. Bring down a referee. So we start with 2.0, Jeff Parker and Matt Lee versus Darby Allen and Sting in a Tornado tag team match. Allen attacks Garcia from behind with a skateboard, and we get a bell. 2.0 delivered a double suplex to Allen on a skateboard and delivered a double powerbomb to Sting through a table. The Icon shook it off and delivered stereo Scorpion Death Drops, a double Scorpion Death Lock, and the win for the face-painted Avengers. What do you think of this? I mean, I fucking love this, and I think you've officially 2.0 are elite now. They must be pinch of Sting's first match on TV.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I've just got to put it out there. John Moxley and Eddie Kingston are two of my favorite wrestlers, singles as well as pairing up. When they pair up together, it reminds me of my sister and I, and just, kind of that unhinged sort of thing. Like, if you let us loose, that's probably what we'd be like. And I'm just so happy for 2.0. Just it's kind of like a Cinderella story with them, isn't it? Really, they weren't getting as appreciated as I feel like they should have been when they were on when they were on NXT. However, they've been given a chance to shine, and that's all within the same year. It's a great year for 2.0, and just to have an opening match like that, it's something that got all of the audience lit up. so you could just hear the excitement pouring through the crowd, and that just adds to the effect.
Yeah, there's so many things that kind of AEW did right just in this match alone. You talk about, a team who was just starting to find a bit of success in NXT kind of be released, and they talk about pinching themselves. They wouldn't have believed they would be facing Sting and Darby Allen on AEW. You've obviously got Darby Allen, a young star, and the way they treat Sting. I mean, Sting hasn't looked this good in God knows how long, and it's just the way they use him as well.
Definitely, and I think it's just something that's that's come natural to them, because I mean, if you really think about it, a lot of people probably look at when they thought of Sting before AEW, all they could probably remember is a lot of the content we got on WWE, where it just was really overlooked. He was overlooked and things like that, but he's never looked so good in his life now. And I think it's thanks to himself. It's thanks to the people that he is surrounding himself with, and it's also thanks to the company he's now in that gives him that creative freedom.
I think without a doubt. Well, we see footage of Sammy Cavera posing to his girlfriend Pam in a ring earlier. Cut to Sean Spears and Tully Blanchard clapping and mocking the engagement. But they have a gift for Pam. They're going to make her honorary member of the Pinnacle for one night only. You let her be on top. That leads to Sammy Cavera versus Sean Spears. Sammy did start strong. He recovered and delivered a C4 for the middle rope, but could only achieve a 2. The Spanish God recovered and feeding off his hometown crowd in Houston, delivered a 6:30. He can only keep his rival down for 2. No, he shouldn't have kicked out of that. After shaking off the frustration, Cavera delivered the GTH for the win and kissed his fiancée to celebrate the victory. What do you think of this match?
Yeah, I think it did its job. I mean, we all know that there's just been bad blood between Sean Spears and Sammy for a while, so it was kind of like one of those ones where I think it was a good match, and Sammy's really got good talent, and you can tell that the crowd really love him. I think that this whole feud with him and Sean Spears doesn't need to be any longer than what it has been now. I feel like Sammy should move on. And in all honesty, I feel like, Sean should probably go after someone else, because he's failing a lot every time it comes to Sammy. So maybe he should give up on that.
Well, I don't know what you think, but I think obviously the crowd helped this exponentially, making it feel like a big match. But both obviously really good. But it's a case of, I think, Sean going down and Guevara moving up, if we look at that on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how this whole, I want to call it a feud, but it's a small feud, has been between them. I mean, if you look back at previous matches, Sean has been the one that was, pinned when it was the Pinnacle versus Inner Circle. Sammy was the one to pin him. So, we needed to kind of get some sort of closure between them, but I don't feel like it's done anything for Sean Spears. So he might want to move on to maybe potentially try and find a new way up the ladder, so to speak.
Yeah, it's the thing, like the chairman gimmick's kind of not work. The Pinnacle is just non-existent, really, at this moment in time. It's just like just MJ.
But I mean, out of everyone from the Pinnacle, I unfortunately feel like Sean Spears was the one who least benefited from being part of that group, and I do think that he should be deserve an opportunity to kind of be showcased a bit more. But I think, with the whole Sammy thing, like with that being over, maybe it's time to maybe relook at the character and change it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't matter, because of the amount of talent AEW's got as well. If Sean Spears takes, 3 months off to come up with a new character, a new direction, it's going to help him out a lot more, rather than him kind of jobbing out on Dark or whatever it is, or, random victories every now and again. But backstage, we see Christian Cage's interview with the Impact World Championship on his shoulders. Don Callis interrupts and takes credit for breaking him into the business, but he's happy that he's getting an opportunity in All Out. He's going to take the one-winged angel, but it's going to be that 5-star match he's been waiting for. Nothing's changed. Don is still on top of the business, and Christian still having matches and clawing his way to the top. Cage says Callis thinks he's in his head, but the fact is he's deep in Kenny Omega's head, and he knows he's going to take the thing he host the AEW World Championship. And yeah, things never change. Dom thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but he is, and always has been, a carny piece of shit. This was strong stuff by Christian, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, another perfect example of, going to the right company for someone like Christian. He's just gotten better and better the more I see him on AEW, and especially with him having that win over Kenny Omega. It's just everything that he's saying, the audience are all feeling it, so he's speaking on behalf of all of us. I, for one, love that how much I hate Don Callis. Yeah. Every time he gets on the mic, I just want to tell him to shut up. But he's doing his character so well, and so I'm really enjoying this everything to do with this.
Yeah, I think without doubt, like I said, the story is definitely working. You're excellent with Christian. We wondered, was going to AEW the right move? You look what he's doing with Impact now as well, and it is kind of working out. We get a recap of Darby's performance last week, cut with promos for him talking about Kenny taking Omega to the limit. And then American Top Team founder Dan Lambert making his second appearance in AEW. Yet another scathing promo of wrestling fans, this time with former UFC heavyweight champions Andrei Arlovsky and Junior Dos Santos as backup. He called out AEW talent feeling froggy, why not jump? And Lance Archer entered the arena looking to rekindle his rivalry. Instead, though, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page attacked the Murder Hot Monster, leaving him laying to the delight of Lambert and Cole. Why does AEW hate Lance Archer?
You know what? I absolutely love him, but I feel like he's probably the only wrestler that I could say is kind of being underutilized, because he definitely should not be jobbing out to the likes of, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. And you know how they've kind of built Miro into this like huge monster. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what I feel like they need to be doing with Lance Archer. And every time they get some momentum going with his character, he ends up losing like that sort of pinnacle match to sort of put him over and solidify him as like a Murder Hulk beast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, his highlight so far for me was the match between him and Miro. That those two pushed themselves to the limit, and I was happy with either man winning because they're just both titans. So it's kind of like, I need to see more coming from Lance Archer.
And it's even weird because, like, we can look back now the last, few weeks of Dynamite and Rampage and think, well, this story's not far, like they did this on.
It's quite slow paced, right?
Yeah, we've just not seen it. I don't know if there's a problem with Archer and even him losing the IWGP, US title is a bit weird.
Yeah, it was just he lost it so quickly since winning it. So I was quite surprised by that.
It's a bit weird, but Lambert did knock this one out of the park. I know he's not. He's had experience in Impact before, but you can just tell he's quite good on the mic. And another person quite good on the mic, Chris Jericho, and he cuts a promo. He says he endured the labours of Jericho, but he's paid a price, and he lays out some of the violence done to him by saying he survived, and he's won. He's got the ultimate prize because tonight, one-on-one, he's got Maxwell, J. Kid, Friedman. He might not have the Judas, the music, or the effect, but what he does is the upper hand and the momentum of 5,000 friends of Jericho that are going to sing him to the ring. MJF can't stop him. He's not who he thinks he is, and this is another champion, and he's going to kick his bitchy ass and beat him tonight. Jericho up, my Jericho friend down. And again, Jericho is he doing the best kind of, not the best promos of his career, but it's definitely on that level at this moment in time.
Oh, for sure, definitely. I mean, as of late, especially, I feel like it's gotten much better, and it's not just because of sort of winning capacity that Jericho's been on when it comes to the matches that he's had recently, but also when you look at kind of the obstacles that he's been kind of put through, and you've just got to end up getting mad respect for that. So with this whole storyline of the 5 labors of Jericho, I think he's just been really creative from his side, and we all know how creative Chris Jericho can naturally be. And it's worked really well in this sense. MJF is one of those characters that really should be built up to be as good as what he can be, because, you know, as much as he's a despicable character, we all know that he could actually be one of the greats come, you know, further down the line. And I think all of this work with Jericho is just benefiting both of them really well.
This is the thing, and I spoke to Monty about this with reason for a feud, and a great feud will build both wrestlers up to a certain level. We know where Jericho is, and MJF, you know, we talk about how good he's a promo, and it's just that kind of maybe in-ring work, or getting victories over legends, and this is kind of working at this moment in time. The next match, though, Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson for the AEW World Tag Team Champion. The champions dominated the action, cutting Jungle Boy off of his partner. The underdog Babyface then created separation and tagged his partner into the match, fueled by the furious offense from Luchasaurus, and the rejuvenated Jungle Boy. The Babyface threatened their opponent's reign, but Kenny Omega blasted Marco Stunt with a steel chair at ringside, and he'd be taken down by New Impact champ Christian Cage after a near-miss reminiscent of the steel chair spot that cost Omega his title on Friday's Rampage. The Bucks delivered a BT trigger for the win, and after the match, beat down the Babyface, culminated with a one-winged angel by Omega onto Cage. Now, this wasn't a bad match. What were your thoughts?
I mean, it was just really enjoyable, in my opinion. The crowd were going wild. I felt overall, Christian just looks great in the ring.
Without a doubt. And I think this match is, you know, we see what Jurassic Express fans get behind them. And I always thought
that they get when their music hits. It's you could just tell that everyone really thoroughly enjoys that group.
Oh, honestly, there's probably 3 or 4 songs that I'll sing along when the wrestlers come out. You know, even like watching it.
Yeah.
And on AEW, you know, like so Jericho, but Jurassic Express, and that's on my playlist now. I'll play that at work or in the car. You know, Tarzan Boy is brilliant. But I always thought Matt was the standout. But watching it this year really closely, Nick is every bit is equal. And I think he might be a better heel than face. I mean, it's just something about him.
It really is. I think that the Young Bucks have incredible talent, and that doesn't just kind of come from being in the ring. You know, they've got this real classy way of showcasing how much of an asshole they really are. And it works so well, and I think that Nick has really stood out when it comes to this heel turn.
He's like I said, they've been brilliant. This match was crazy in itself, tag wrestling at its best, even with the NWO shenanigans. Jungle Boy's jumping moonsault over the top was exceptional. Omega, of course, got his heat back from Rampage. Then we see Dr. Britt Baker, DMD's interview backstage with Rebel and Jamie Hayter's side. And basically say that Baker is gold, is definitely not Velvet's colour and never will be. But regardless, going to have fun next week. And back from commercial, we get a video package where Matt Hardy explains he kicked Willie Utah's ass and he beat any of their best friends again. And then Tony Schiavone interviews Paul White in the ring. He said it was amazing to get back in the ring last week and he's still hyped about it. He's excited because he's got a real huge announcement. He's excited to share it with us. Enter Cutie, Marshall and a factory. He says they got a problem, a really big ass problem. They just want to come down and stop Paul before he's just saying he couldn't deliver on. Because here in AEW, he doesn't say things to build up fan anticipation, just to let the fans down. White tells him to come in the ring because he's sure Tony can count to 3. QT says the reason Tony can't hide him as an announcer. Paul has no idea what he's talking about. Marshall says the producer is privy to all kind of information, and he asks the truck to put the pictures of Paul's hip operation for the last 18 months. It's heroic, a miracle for us going to these great lengths. White asks if he really thought it was a good idea to show pictures of his hip and his big, beautiful ass on national TV. Do you think he's embarrassed a bit for a man that's supposed to be in the know? You don't know anything, but Paul will clue him in. He had a little talk with Tony Khan last week, and he's got a match at All Out. And guess who the opponent is? It's QT Marshall. Well, it's a debut match at Big Show then, looks like.
I mean, I think that I expected this to happen at some point, having someone like the Big Show in the ring. He really enjoys sort of the aspect of being able to just join in as and where he sees fit. He's always played sort of that role outside of the ring where, if commentating or if in the back, he'll make the save at some point. So I feel like it was inevitable that we weren't going to have him at least wrestle one match on AEW. Cutie Marshall, however, I don't know if I would have chosen him as sort of like the opponent for Big Show to go against. However, we'll see how this match can go. Hopefully, he doesn't have to go through any more surgeries.
Yeah, like I said, we're not expecting this to go 25 minutes, but we might be pleasantly. But we'll run through the card for All Out in a little bit. We get a Jade Cargill promo where she calls Kira Hogan out for a match on Rampage. And then Tony Schiavone interviews the Elite backstage. Callis talks about how the Bucks are the best team ever. They tell him that 2 months off. But Tony says that Tony Khan has had enough. They're going to have a tag tournament to crown the number one contenders for the steel cage tag title match at All Out. And then we see Taz is in the ring with his son Hook. He introduces Hook and then gives absolute Ricky Starks a big go. He gets on the mic. He says he's there for the world. It's going to be like that for a long time. And he and Brian Cage need to keep missing each other. But he wants to talk mano a mano tonight. But we cut backstage where Will Hobbs lays Cage out. Brian gets to his feet and starts biting back. Ricky demands they cut the feed and Team Taz leave together. Is this Team Taz feud really going anywhere at this moment in time? We talked about Brian Cage last month, and it's a bit like Lance Archer, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I feel like in some level, in some aspects, yes, it is working, but I think it's not working against, the likes of Brian Cage. It very much does have that feeling of it being more about Ricky Starks, which is fine because I think Ricky has got a real great character and personality, and I really do enjoy him when he's around. I'm liking this sort of aspect of seeing Will Hobbs look to, maybe try and get a push. Maybe having both Powerhouse Hobbs and Brian Cage probably wasn't working in Team Taz's favor, having sort of this unlikely alliance between two powerhouses. And them not really decimating as a team, they're not really dominating. They've just been kind of there, so it's been kind of stagnant. So I think it was probably the right thing to do with splitting a member of the team up from Team Taz, and I think Brian Cage was the right person to end up resulting in splitting up with them. I'm hoping that this means that Team Taz has enough sort of availability to focus on the likes of maybe Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs in terms of their wrestlers. And I hope this also means that maybe Brian Cage might get a much anticipated singles run where it could lead to a title match of some sort.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens, but they need to kind of sort something out. And then we see Tony Schiavone interview Death Triangle. Pat calls Andrade out and says if Andrade wants a match at All Out, then perfecto. The same pay-per-view where he split with Kenny Omega on 2 weeks' notice. He'll glad that Idolo brought his bollocks, but what chance does a man like him stand against a bastard like him? And Andrade said if Pat wants a match, he has to agree to his conditions. It's a whole ream of paper. Chavo wishes Lucha Brothers luck, but says he'll never be champions with a boss like Pac. I can't wait for the match, and unfortunately we get onto the news in a little bit. But then we get Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa. And Ford countered the fire, Thunder drive and applied a Mutilock, but Rosa countered and applied a half Boston Crab Shell, an airplane spin, and a Death Valley driver. Ford went to the Mutilock, but Rosa countered for a bad match, but again, it was just before the main event. The placement of it annoyed me.
I agree. I think that this should have kind of happened earlier on in the show in order to have given it a bit more momentum, especially because both these women are good wrestlers, but Thunder Rosa is a top athlete that I would say deserves a bit more of the audience's attention and hype. So it was a bit irritating to have it so late on in within the show.
Well, Miro gets a promo where he says Thiago del Sol took the easy way out and took something he wasn't entitled to, and he serves an Old Testament God every day and his hot wife every night. If it don't come from him, it will come from them. And the Redeemer wants to talk to Eddie Kingston as we go to a break. Back from commercial, Eddie Kingston mates John Moxley cuts a promo. He says, if you think about how everybody wants a piece of AEW now, they're the hottest promotion in the world. What makes them think it's so easy? Kenny Omega needs a whole army to keep his title. Adam Page called himself a cowboy, but he can't get over his high school drama. And Christian, he walked through. Christian should have stayed retired's ass. Don't forget, he's held this company's back through empty buildings and uncertain times. And now he wants a piece. It's time to send a message and what it means to be on top. And young Mr. Garcia wants a taste of the main event. He'll give it to him in the main event of Rampage. Before we get there, ask yourself if it's what you really, really want. The referee and the ringside doctors are there for you. And if they're not any concern, protect your neck and make sure this is where you really, really want to be, because this ain't no joke. This was fire from Moxley. Do you think they're using him right, Reece?
Definitely. I think that, given the fact that fans would know that he has just become a father himself, I can see why he probably wanted to take a step back from any form of sort of main title run or title picture, just so that he can have a bit more time at home. However, again, I don't think John can cut a bad promo, and this was just fire. This just kind of hyped everyone up.
Yes, like I said, it was great stuff. And then the main event, of course, the fifth labourer, Jericho, Chris Jericho versus Maxwell Jacob Freeman. And Jericho's all smiles after the crowd sang him in. This was a great moment, and I know they've obviously planned it, but the fans still needed to deliver it, and I just think it worked perfectly.
I was really worried that, we'd kind of have that thing where he expects that, the crowd, or is hoping the crowd will sing him down. And, I was thinking, oh gosh, it's going to go all quiet all of a sudden, and it's just going to have like one or two people who maybe are the only ones who either want to join in or genuinely know the words. But the sheer amount of dedication the fans gave him just goes straight out to prove to you what they think of Jericho as a wrestler. And it was actually lovely to see.
Well, into the match, and MJF worked the injured arm. Jericho fought back, coming out of the break, delivering a double axe handle for the ropes. He added a lion salt as well. But MJF recovered and applied salt to the earth armbar. The veteran counter applied the walls of Jericho. MJF fought out, hung Jericho's arm up on the top rope and delivered a heat seeker pendulum pole driver. They all capitalized low blow, trying to apply the walls of Jericho of his own. MJF overcame a late shot from Floyd, the baseball bat, to reapply the salt to the earth submission. And despite a gutsy effort by Jericho to overcome pain, he had no choice but to tap out. Jericho tapped. All that for this. Was this the right decision?
In a way, yes, because of I think as an AEW fan, and maybe a lot of the listeners here would agree, we can tell that this has been some sort of build up for MJF to really define his character, to define the standard of heel he's going to be throughout this company. And you have to have the likes of someone as high in status and in within the wrestling ring, like as Jericho, to really put someone over. So yeah.
Well, my only thing was, like, he worked so hard, went through plates of glass just to come up short. Yeah. And obviously they've announced another pay-per-view match, and I'm thinking, why not just have that fifth labor Jericho at the pay-per-view if MJF is going to go over? That's the only...
I feel like it's predominantly because, maybe this is sort of going to be the slowdown, the slow run of Jericho kind of not wrestling anymore. And this could be, sort of his way of sort of edging himself out. But I've been thoroughly enjoying this whole thing, and I thought it was creative of them to have Jericho tap out, especially because, with a lot of AEW, or even, no, I'd actually say more AEW than the WWE, but they're really good at leaving us surprised. So as much as all of us were expecting Jericho to come out of this on top, it's nice to see that they're still leaving us shocked because none of us saw that coming.
Yeah, but again, like I said, with him tapping out, just shows that look at what we went through, and now he just tapped. I don't mind passing out or knocked out, but it's just like Jericho gave up. But like I said, bigger picture, and talk about bigger picture, we move on. August 20th, Rampage, and the crowd is loud from the jump. CM Punk chants rain down. The announcers, Excalibur, Mark Henry, Taz, and Jim Ross in for Chris Jericho run down the crowd. And the major announcement is first, and Cult of Personality hits, and the Tron says, CM Punk, he's here, and he has tears in his eye, with a tear in my eye, and he kneels down on a ramp. He spends a lot of time with the fans on his way to the ring, then grabs the mic and Excalibur tells him we'll hear from him after the break. He announces he's back, and tells us he won't get to do everything tonight, but he's got time, because he'll be around days and 4 weekends a month. He apologised if he offended anyone in the last 7 years, but he couldn't get better in that place. That got him sick. After a story about Ring of Honor meant to him, he compares that environment to AEW. When he left Ring of Honor, he left pro wrestling. Tonight he's back, and he's talking about young talent he wants to work with. He also mentioned a couple of old schools in his cell. At least said Darby Allen call out. Allen's in the rafters with Sting when he learns he has an all-out match. CM Punk. If this is not your favourite thing in wrestling this year, you're not a proper wrestling fan. But I digress. What were your
No, completely agree with you on that one. I was that fan that just kind of sat there in silence with tears in my eyes, watching and wishing that I was, part of the crowd that he dived onto. So, yeah, this was just the highlight of the year already, and hands down my favourite moment within wrestling for this year. It will forever be CM Punk's return, and I just loved seeing his raw emotion. Everything to do with it was great.
Yeah, and the thing is, as a CM Punk fan, and probably you and a lot of other people, it's great to have him back. But I think what's kind of look at him and see that kind of motivated CM Punk, see a CM Punk that actually wants to, put on great matches. Because the Punk we saw, especially, the last 3 years in WWE, had a lot of problems, either injury, mental, and all this kind of stuff. And you just think, what can CM Punk do? A motivated CM Punk in AEW at this point in time, it is light in the touch paper.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where seeing the sort of spark back in his eyes is just making us even more excited as to the future that he can have within this type of company. And as we've, continuously said on previous occasions, AEW is becoming very renowned for its creative freedom, and to allow someone like the likes of CM Punk to join, who knows where this creativity can go.
Like I said, a credible moment, and just for all round, it's just really, really good for the wrestling business at this point. But we did have wrestling to get on, and if there's only one negative from CM Punk starting the show, is the people that had to follow it. So, like I said, the Jurassic Express defeated Private Party via pinfall, hitting their double-team powerbomb Isaiah Cassidy to advance to the finals of the Tag Team Eliminator Tournament. They'll face the winners of Varsity Blondes, Lucha Bros on Dynamite. I had to re-watch this after the excitement wore for CM Punk. I have to come back because, like I said, 20 minutes after Punk's promo, you're just still recovering. It's like cigarette in your mouth. It's just...
Agree, yeah. I kind of agree. But then again, I think that there was no way that anything probably was going to be able to kind of top that sort of hype. So it was inevitable as to whoever was going to be in that position.
Well, here's the thing. But the match itself was really good. The Canadian Destroyer off the top was immense. The shooting star to the outside was mental. And the finish was killer as well. And then in a rate, Kenny Omega promos for backstage with Don Callis. The whole first dance thing was supposed to be for him, but Christian Cage ruined it. So All Out, he's sending Cage back into retirement. And then we get a pre-hype video. Kira Hogan can talk about how Jade Cargill's overlooking her, and Cargill can say, and Jade Cargill was right. She defeated Kira Hogan via pinfall with Jaded in about a minute. Hogan was a major player in Impact. cannon fodder tonight. But do you think she made the right move because she wants to obviously be seen by a bigger audience, and she'll probably get a chance as well at some point? And what's your thoughts on Jade Cargill? Because we've seen a lot now.
We have seen a lot with Jade, and so my thoughts first and foremost on Kira Hogan was it was and is pure excitement. I really liked her in Impact. I think that she's got a lot of personality that could probably be molded quite well to suit the sort of AEW women's roster that we do have. So I'm quite intrigued and excited to see, what she could potentially bring, because I mean, we've seen her, as you just said, sort of call out Jade, but we did see her get featured a little bit later on down the line as well. So who knows? Maybe we might get a chance to see her again in the AEW ring.
Well, we see Mark Henry has a remote interview with the main eventers 2.0 to hype up for their guy Daniel Garcia. Then John Moxley enters a lot of them. He says Garcia has a better chance of getting him pregnant tonight than he does of beating him. I mean, what a line.
I know. I mean, I definitely was just crying with laughter when he delivered that.
So main event, John Moxley versus Daniel Garcia. And Moxley Garcia had the last 8 minutes of the show to work with, so we're going to have to be creative if they want to be a main event worthy. Moxley reversed that into a chokehold after being worked on for a win. And 2.0 Garcia started a beatdown on Mox after the bell. But Eddie Kingston, Darby Allen, and Sting all run. Jeff Parker takes a Stinger Splash and a Scorpion Death Drop. Matt Lee gets splashed by Allen, and they both get Coffin Drop to close the show. So Punk may have started the show, but his pay-for-view opponent was the last man standing. What were your thoughts?
It was just pure hype. Enjoyed it thoroughly. And yeah, it's just one of those things where Darby Allen's just, he was over already, but now that CM Punk has called him out, it was even more exciting to have him close the show.
Right, and CM Punk's AEW debut on Rampage did the best television numbers of promotion's 3-year history. His fought on Rampage drew 1.129 million viewers for the Friday night telecast. Broadcast did a 0.53 rate in the 18-49 demo, the second highest in the history of AEW's TV programs, behind only their premiere in October of 2019. I guess he is a needle mover then. It looks like his opening quarterly hour got 1.3 million viewers as well. It just shows you. I mean, he is a needle mover.
Oh, I mean, that's a good name for him. Maybe he should consider thinking of that as a nickname.
Well, because he says I'm no longer voiceless, because obviously in AEW, they've got a voice now, so he's retired that. But like you said, the needle mover, it might work. You got the demo god, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so we move on to Dynamite. It's episode Dynamite, 25th August. The show opens with the intro video, and it's Matt Hardy versus Orange Cassidy. Matt took control once we got some of the OC shenanigans, and Cassidy delivers senton bomb a la Hardy's brothers Jeff, and set up for a twist of fate, but the heel blocked. He added a middle rope elbow drop to the back for another 2, and Cassidy countered an attempted leech by Hardy, and stacks him up with a roll up with the hands in their pockets for the win. We should mention that a crossbody by Orange Cassidy kind of exploded Matt Hardy's face. What were your thoughts on the match? And Matt Hardy just can't catch a break at this moment.
Honestly, it just was quite uncomfortable to watch. I couldn't really pay attention to the match after that crossbody because the amount of blood that was just quickly covering Matt Hardy's face. But his nose has not had the best of luck within a wrestling capacity, honestly.
It just can't catch a break, and I don't know if the timing was off or anything like that, but obviously, to be hit in the face that far. I think
it was just the position. Yeah, I think it was just the position. I think, Orange Cassidy just jumped a bit way too high, so his landing just moved straight towards landing on his face rather than his body.
Yeah, but again, not a bad opener. Then we get Malachi Black cut the promo about how his match against Brock Anderson's going to go, suggesting it's going to end with Brock apologising and going back to think about his idiocy with what he tried. And if that doesn't go like that, he'll take out his dad and on Cody, and he'll take out on Dustin and anyone even remotely associated with a Nightmare family. And back for the commercial, Chris Jericho makes his entrance. The frustrated veteran vowed to attack MJF anytime, anywhere. They settled their differences. He proposed one more match for All Out and promised he would go to the commentary table full time and never wrestle in AEW again if he lost. The idea of Jericho ending Jericho was too tempting for MJF. He arrived on the scene, cut a braggadocious promo, and accepted the challenge. And MJF was wearing an MJF3 Jerry Blow 0 shirt. Again, though, we've got, I think, different views about this because I wasn't as excited for another match between these two guys.
I mean, at this point, when Jericho, suggested putting his career on the line, it was one of those ones where I just thought to myself, this might not have been the best idea to go with this sort of stipulation. So I just don't know where they're going with this because, I mean, if you're trying to truly ask me whether or not I think that, like, Jericho's career is over as of now, I would say no, definitely not. So it's at this point then that I am like, well, what was the point on having Jericho lose if he's not going to end up, losing this match and retiring, and he does win it, then what was the point on having him tap out as he did? So this at this point, this started to kind of make me question things and change my mind about the way that things are being dealt with within this feud.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, the more and more they give, the less it becomes special. While you're going, oh, let's just kind of move on from this as well. But we get a backstage promo for the Varsity Blondes. They cut one on Lucha Brothers, telling them that their bond might not be blood, but their bond is a lot thicker. And they're going to go and challenge the Young Bucks. And the Young Bucks, the Good Brothers, and Brandon Cutler set chairs up on the stage to watch the next match, which is Lucha Brothers versus the Varsity Blondes, the number contendership semi-finals. And Brian Pillman and Griff Garcia make a considerable babyface comeback late. Scored a quality near fall, but his frustration told the story of a wrestler running out of options. Moments later, the masked anti-heroes of the tag division put a halt to the onslaught and scored the win to advance to a showdown with the Jurassic Express. The Young Bucks and the Good Brothers attempted a sneak attack, but the babyfaces cleared them to close out the segment. This was two great teams. I think it's a good match, but the finish was quite quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, hands down, Lucha Brothers are one of the best tag teams in the world. And the Varsity Blondes have actually grown on me. They're getting better and better in the ring. And I felt like it was quite a decent main event type match. However, yeah, the ending was it lacked a little bit.
Yeah, it's just kind of, the thing is, you start getting into it, and then before you know it, you go, oh, wait a minute, it's over. And then that's kind of a little bit, you go, oh, I want a little bit more.
Been given... Yeah, I feel like it could have been given a bit longer. However, it did what it kind of needed to do as well.
It's not too bad, but we get Andrade El Idolo and Chavo Guerrero get a video package for Andrade's match against Pac, and then Jamie Hayter versus Red Velvet, and Velvet fought way back into the match, but another mental distraction and a botched moonsault gave way to a lariat clothesline and a win for Hayter. Post-match, Chris Statlander runs to the ring and clears Hayter Rebel out before staring Baker down. A front transfer, and Britt runs away and leaves her top behind in the ring. Chris picks it up and holds it high. This was more about after the match than what happened in it, which I don't think was very good.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit unfortunate. I feel I can see how much Red Velvet is improving, and she's been doing well for herself. However, I also feel like she was never going to really get over because of how big Britt Baker is right now. Then the botched moonsault just didn't really help. As long as it wasn't bad enough that she broke her nose or anything like that, kind of like a la Matt Hardy. But at the same time, it was just one of those things where it's those small little mishaps that lead to everyone truly believing, well, she's not going to defeat the likes of, Britt Baker and stuff. Having Chris Statlander come down at the end is what it was all about. And I really enjoy Chris Statlander. So I'm really intrigued to see kind of how she gets on within taking on Britt Baker and her growing brood.
Well, this is the thing. There's a lot of great things AEW doing, but there's still a lot of work to do with the women's. Even secondaries where you don't have the main event angle, but hopefully this works, through time. A Dark Order are backstage next, and even though it cuts a promo, he says they're a unit, and something worked there to help him and Stu Grayson, but that's okay because they're a unit. Alex Reynolds takes issue, saying they weren't there for Adam Page, and Una tells him made a decision for the best. Reynolds is even more upset and says he's done with the Dark Order. Eva tells him maybe he should step out of John Silver's shadow for once. Ooh. Alex storms off, Silver goes after him, and the Dark Order is the boss. As we go to a break, please don't split the Dark Order. What are your thoughts on this, though?
Yeah, I don't. I want to say that I don't believe that they're going to split the Dark Order. What I do think is that what they're doing is they're slowly crumbling without without having that authoritative, real number one leader. As Alex pointed out, Evil Uno isn't the leader. He's only number one. So I'm really kind of looking at this from a positive point of view and feeling like this is all just sort of leading towards maybe utter chaos happening within the Dark Order until we get a certain maybe reveal of a new leader come in, and that be in the shape of Bray Wyatt along with his maybe negative 2.0 Braun Strowman. I'm hoping for all of this to sort of be like the build up. So that's what I'm taking from it more than them actually legit splitting up.
Yeah, I think it's building towards something. It'd be interesting what happens. And then we get Tony Schiavone's in the ring to introduce and then CM Punk. And Punk says he's a fan. Tony Schiavone says he's a fan first. And Friday night was one of the great moments he's ever been a part of. And we're going to do it again. Of course, CM Punk makes an ask to name one thing that brought him back. He tells Tony he can't hear him over the roar of the crowd. He answers Penta El Zero M, Ray Phoenix, Brian Pillman Jr., Jungle Boy, but for all those names, there's one guy. He's going to go ahead and entirely nickname the Voice of the Voiceless because this place has a voice and there's people in the back that listen. You know why he's here. He watches Darby Allen. He's reckless to a point of destruction, and he sits back and looks at all the young talent and asks, can CM Punk still go? Does CM Punk still have what it takes? Can CM Punk still be the best in the world? And if the answer is yes, it starts with Allen, someone who would have been his favourite wrestler when he was 15. He sees himself, someone that doesn't fit the mould of a professional wrestler. He's not the biggest or the strongest, but god damn it, he's got heart. And if he's going to answer those questions himself, and the crowd charts up with a yes chance, and Punk points out that someone else's shtick, and we might just have to wait, be a bit patient for that one. But right now, to answer those questions, it comes down to All Out, September 5th. He says hi to his beautiful wife sitting at home and tells her he loves her. Before I get your thoughts on CM Punk, it's not just the Rampage rating. It's not just the kind of excitement level. You look in that crowd and all the CM Punk T-shirts that he has sold from the Friday to the Wednesday. It was incredible. What were your thoughts?
Sold out. I couldn't even get a T-shirt. I actually tried myself to get one, and they sold out. So if anyone was arguing the case of CM Punk, I mean, AEW can argue their sales revenue right now. They're definitely raking it in and actually making that money. So whatever they did to secure CM Punk, he's doing his job. He's getting those P's in. But it's just, again, it just leads to more excitement. I've just, every time like he's kind of like there, as you said, when you look out in the crowd and you can see all those CM Punk T-shirts, it goes to show you what wrestling does to us fans. It brings us all together, brings us all in union, and it was just so lovely to see that sea of crowd with those T-shirts.
And he's come back, and he hasn't missed a beat. Like I said, the crowd in the palm of his hand.
I really enjoyed him sort of pointing out that someone else's thing, and you'll get that soon. But just be patient.
Yes.
You know, that little note there, I was like, we are totally getting Daniel Bryan soon, and I cannot wait to see what he's even going to be like.
And this is the thing, and the first words he says after being away 7 years is mentioning Britt Baker. So, you know, a lot of people talk about, oh, we're going to put the younger generation, and then don't. But I think with Punk trying to show that
He's actually doing it. Yeah.
Before he gets
definitely
in the ring with Darby, and Darby's become a much. I mean, you could say Darby's like maybe the second big star in the entire company now, just because of association with CM Punk. It's fantastic stuff.
Oh, and
And we get Miro cutting the forgives Fuego del Sol and promises to find Eddie Kingston, drag him to the river and hold him under. God will back him because he's a redeemer, and his wife will love him because he's his champion. Bring him the Mad King. And then Darby Allen, Eddie Kingston, John Moxley versus the Wingmen, which is Cesar Bononi, JD Drake, and Ryan Nemeth. Kingston sparked the comeback for the fan favourites. Allen tagged in and delivered an avalanche code red to Drake for a near fall, while Sting confronted Avalon at ringside. As the action broke down, Allen delivered a stunner to Drake, and Allen a coffin drop for the win. And Daniel Garcia attacked Allen after the match, leaving him reeling to end the segment. No threat should be treated as such. You know, Lee's jobbers, I think, got a lot more than maybe we were expecting. Darby getting beat down, but it probably was, you know, building up for the first GTS for the young man. What did you think of this?
I mean, it's unfortunate because I do look at the wingmen and see them more as a group of jobbers, but every company, every promotion kind of end up having to have that. Otherwise, you'd never put over superstars, you know. But I thought there was just like a certain amount of unhinged chaos that happened throughout that I just quite thoroughly enjoyed.
It wasn't too bad, but again, it's like, is there anybody else they could have put in that position apart from the kind of these jobbers? But then again, I suppose, you know, like I said, at this moment, it's about maybe protecting others as well. We see Ty Conte.
I also think that it was just more a case of them just having like a little bit of fun with, you know, sort of Eddie Kingston and John Moxley and things. So I don't think it was supposed to be one of those type of matches that was to be taken too seriously in terms of a real wrestling type fights, and it was just more about hyping up the crowd.
Yeah, well, we see, like I said, Ty Conte in the backstage. Before she announced any questions, a bunny rolls up to ask why she's still hanging out with those losers in the Dark Order. Get along with each other. She offers an HFO contract, claiming they would work together like a real family. Tay tears the contract up. Bunny slaps her, and a brawl breaks out until they separate them up. Do you know what? I love this. Just because of the slap, you could hear it, and then Ty's like, "Bring it fucking on." And that altercation is just, that's what I want.
I just really enjoyed it. Yeah, this is the way to start building up different feuds between different women, you know. And so I like the aspect of the bunny being like, you know, why are you still hanging around with them? Why don't you come and hang around with us instead? And Ty is a very lovable female wrestler that is just kind of winning the crowd over the more and more she's featured. So seeing these two just start slapping it up was kind of great.
Well, we get an FTR video package mainly focused on Cash Wheeler's injured arm, and now it's not going to stop him from getting their pound of flesh. The slow motion replay of seeing the skin caught on that ring post.
Yeah.
It's like Stretch Armstrong or something. I can't.
Honestly, you are actually making me cringe a little bit again by reminding me of it. It's so horrible.
Well, we get Kenny Omega's in the ring with Don Callis in a very loud, and Callis gets on a mic. He pledges they're going to take Christian Cage out once and for all, and enter Christian Cage. We get a verbal back and forth. Gave away the Cage that was worse. Callis taking advantage of a 10-year-old Cage or a 37-year-old Omega, letting it happen now. Callis count by saying Cage will be in a fitter position at All Out. Second best. A beat down of Christian Ed with Frankie Serin hitting the ring and making the save. Unfortunately, though, since CM Punk came back and the Darby Allen thing, this, you know, Christian versus Omega is going to be great. But for me, it's just like not the main event.
Overshadowed by, it's kind of been overshadowed. And that, but me saying that doesn't mean that I'm not still just as excited to kind of see this match and see where things go from here between both wrestlers. That they both deliver some excellent content for AEW, and even though it probably didn't have as much of a hype as all of the CM Punk and Darby Allen stuff. I really am a huge fan of Frankie Kazarian. I don't think that he's appreciated as much by fans as of yet. But I really enjoy the fact that he's not letting go of this ongoing hatred for the Elite, for simply splitting up him and his friend Christopher Daniels. I felt like, as a team, as SCU, and they were the first ever tag team champions as well for AEW. It's nice to see that Frankie Kazarian has not been forgotten about. And I really would like to see sort of more come from him and his character. But I do enjoy the fact that he's really just not given up with his hatred towards them, and he's just kind of randomly turns up as and when.
Yeah, but it's just a shame they cut his legs out from under him a few weeks back with losing to, I think, Anderson.
Yeah.
And it's just give him more. It would become...
I thought he could have won that.
Yeah, and the proper reaction of him coming out, making a save, when he's actually a threat, as opposed to just like...
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, we see John Moxley's backstage cut a promo. He said he got a FedEx from Tokyo today, one contract, and only one guy with the balls to chase the boogeyman of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Kojima Satsui. A real treat for the fans here. Legend of New Japan and All Japan. This crazy old man wants to step in the ring with him. Looks like a death wish. You want to go out in a bit of a blaze of glory. I thought this was a bit of a letdown because I'm not the biggest New Japan fan, but I thought after Tanahashi beat Archer for the title, it would lead to a pay-per-view match. Now, it might not be All Out. It might be Full Gear. But, I mean, have you ever heard of Kojima? Because he was an Impact earlier. For me, this feels a bit of a match.
I have heard of him before, and I've seen him wrestle. I think he's a good wrestler. I felt like this did come sort of out of nowhere. However, I've only seen him like once or twice in the ring. So I'm intrigued to see, him come to All Out and see what he can do. Although I do feel like this is, like you said, filler sort of thing when it comes to John Moxley. I think that, there's no direction for him now.
The thing is, and again, it's, I think, more of a British fan of this. It's like, AEW's great, but I know the show's going to be 4 hours long. And for us in the UK to stay up, especially on a Sunday night for that, it's probably not going to be possible. But when you've got the buy-in as well, so that's going to be 5 hours of stuff you're going to have to kind of watch. It does feel too much sometimes. And I know people have said that about WWE events for a very long time. And I know AEW only do 4 or 5 people. But for me...
But you don't want to kind of give it too much time to breathe to the point where you end up exhausting the audience. So I definitely agree that there's some things, that could probably be just more featured on Rampage than All Out. However, we'll see how things go. As far as as far as I can say at the moment, I don't think that I've felt like an AEW pay-per-view event has gone too long. I think it's been like sort of perfect timing. So I want to kind of give it a little bit of hope that it's not going to be as long as what you say, but we never know because these matches continue to build up.
Yeah, no, I've struggled with a couple of live AEW pay-per-views where I've gone, do you know what, I'm gonna have to catch this the following day. But up next, Gun Club, Austin, Billy and Colton Gunn versus The Factory, Aaron Solo, Nick Comorotti, Marshall. The Gun Club overcome an onslaught by their opponents, capitalising on a momentary distraction by White, and that commentary for a pinfall victory on Marshall. I mean, damn, do they look like their dad. I mean, Colton looks great, and the Guns haven't lost yet. And with the rankings, the Gun Club are probably hard done by not to be in a tag tournament. But I was getting all this, and then I was thinking, QT is just really bland. I don't know what you...
It's so unfortunate, but I have to agree. I really do. I think, even from the very beginning, when he was like sort of like partnered with Cody, and then he was going through stuff with the bunny who was at that time Ali, and there's something about QT that's just not resonating with me. I don't know if it's the character. I don't know if it's the type of feuds that he gets himself in. But every feud he gets himself in, I'm not overly excited or impressed to be watching because I already know his opponent's going to win. You know?
Yeah. Well, we get Dan Lambert cutting a promo with the Men of the Year at his side. He says something occurred to him. What the rule is number one of business. Know your customers and give them what they want. And his mistake was blaming AEW for giving us what they want to show us. Some donkey gymnast proposing to his girlfriend. He's finding real role models stand up and awoke masses like former MMA fighter Scorpio Sky and double black belt Ethan Page. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, again, this was a bit of a fail for me as well. There was no excitement that came from me from this. Yeah.
Well, we see Arn Anderson is interviewed in front of his son's dressing room. How did Brock Anderson dressing room? I mean, how many dressing rooms are there in AEW for him to get one when like Big Show's changing in a group one? Like, it's unfair.
I mean, no offense, but he's Arn's son, you know,
yeah, but
and Arn is the enforcer to the CEO of AEW.
Exactly.
Arn's son is getting his own room.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's not the Andersons. It's just Brock. Like, Arn's got his own. Yep. They've all got the 100. Anyway.
VIP. He got the VIP ticket.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He won the rock, paper, scissors earlier. Anyway, we see Brock. He says Brock is hard-headed, but he's got guts, and he'll lie down and die for his son. Good doesn't always pray over evil, and he's going to have to dig down into his guts to make it happen. And then Malachi Black makes his entrance. Again, I'm starting to dig this a little bit. Obviously, I'll still miss his Aleister Black entrance, and the entrance theme's not as good, but still. And then Brock Anderson and Black withstood an early onslaught and blasted Brock with a black mass for the pinfall victory. After the match, Allen stood between the Dutchman and his son, threatening a steel chair assault. Black responded with a black mass only to block it. A low blow gave way to a black mass that did land before Lee Johnson made a save and stared down Black to close out the show. Does Black need some legitimate challenges because the Nightmare Collective is not matching up at this moment?
No, I mean right now, from my perspective, Malachi Black is just ticking them all off one by one. I think he does need an actual legitimate challenger, and I think it was quite a lackluster ending. To kind of with the way that Lee Johnson went about, coming out. There was no rush of him getting to the ring. He just walked down. Aleister Black slowly got out the ring. So I felt a little bit disappointed by this ending, just because if it was, it could have been. And this is no offense to Lee Johnson. This is more about the fact that he picked off the king of the Nightmare Factory, and now he's just picking off its pawns. And it's like if someone along the likes of Christian Cage even had his music hit and he ran down to the ring, it would have gone off with a lot more of a bigger hype, a bigger pop. So I feel like they just need to find some form of babyface that is looking to rise to the challenge, that is already. Do you know what? I would even say Dante Martin. If Dante Martin ran to that ring, he's gotten so much traction lately, and he's so good. Even though I can't see the likes of him defeating Aleister Black, that is a beautiful story that could be told right there and then of him building up, trying to defeat him or something like that. And he's also not associated with the fact that the Nightmare Factory, so it feels like someone different, someone new, or even Jungle Boy. I think someone that was it needed to be someone that had a bit more traction with the audience, so that once that music hits, there's that re-hype, that re-pop that you could end the show on. I just unfortunately feel like they missed the mark slightly with the way that Lee Johnson came out, as well as unfortunately being Lee Johnson.
Well, I think after CM Punk's promo, the show felt a bit like AEW Dark, with the kind of, you're going, there's not really much going on. But the rating for Dynamite averaged 1.172 million viewers on TNT, up 20.2% from the previous week. The third highest viewership total in the history of the show. Of course, the episode features CM Punk's first appearance, and the 18 to 49 demo was the show's highest. Its premiere in October 2019, so the needle mover strikes again. And then Rampage, 27th of August, and Chris Jericho is back on commentary for the show, along with Taz, Mark Henry, Excalibur. And we get a tag team title eliminator tournament final, Lucha Brothers versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. And of course, the Young Bucks and the Stooge, Brandon Cutler, were watching for the entrance. They kept the pace quick and had a long sequence that ended with another handshake as a sign of respect between the competitors. They both decided to tag their partners after coming to a stalemate. Penta and Luchasaurus traded strikes, while Phoenix and Jungle Boy tried to get involved. They continued in trade control back and forth after the commercial break, with a crowd chant for both teams. Luchasaurus put a valiant effort, but a double team offense of Penta and Phoenix was too much for him. And after Lucha Bros scored the win, the Young Bucks attacked them to send the message. All four were on top form here. This was tag wrestling at its best.
Honestly, I cannot stress how much I enjoyed that match. That opening match just kind of already left everyone on the hype. All four men are so talented, and it was just a really great match. One that I watched twice because I thought it was that good. The show of respect throughout both teams as well was just always lovely to see. And, it's not done often because it's usually a heel versus a face. So in these type of tournaments, when you do end up having two sort of face teams face off against one another, it makes it feel a little bit more impactful when you can see signs of respect coming from either side. And that reflected in the ending of the match, where, the Jungle Express came to the aid of the Lucha Brothers after, the Young Bucks, being the Young Bucks, decided to attack them. So this just left me feeling all, fuzzy inside with excitement, excitement to see, hopefully, like, the Lucha Brothers come on top and look to get some revenge at some.
Yeah, I mean, the end sequence was breathless, and Destroyer on the apron was mind-boggling. Like, I'd go back and watch that a few times, because I was like, he stepped off him and then hit Destroyer on the apron. Like, it's just incredible.
Honestly, it's just, it is continuously, it's a continuous excitement each week watching the Lucha.
It's crazy. And then CM Punk and Darby Allen, we get a great video airing of CM Punk. So wrestling AEW, and Punk calling out Darby Allen, and like I said, another great preview. And then Miro promo, he threw Fuego del Sol out the entranceway and kicked him down the ring. In the ring, Miro pulled off the Sol's mask and kicked him in the face. This brought out Eddie Kingston with Mike. Kingston dropped the mic and decided to go after Miro. Kingston got the advantage of Miro hitting him with an exploded suplex before the refs came in to break it up. And I think we can pencil in Miro and Kingston TNT title match for All Out.
I'm so excited by this. As I've told you before, and you guys have already heard, I love Eddie Kingston. I really do. And so, the promo last week with having Miro call out the Mad King just excited me as it was. Seeing Eddie come out and just not even say anything, and you know how much Eddie loves talking on that mic. It threw me for one. Like, I was just like, give me All Out right now. Give me that. There's so many matches that I am anticipating and looking forward to. And this is one of them that is up there in my top, ones, and highly anticipated.
Well, we get Bunny with the Blade versus Ty Conte next, and Penelope Ford came down to watch the action. Her presence distracted Conte long enough for the Bunny to grab the brass knuckles of the Blade. One right hand got her the win. I like both, but like I said, we want more from AEW. And then Mark Henry moderates an interview between Kenny Omega and Don Callis, and Christian Cage and Frank Kazarian. Kazarian made a point of asking Kenny to make sure he tags in for this match, leading to the main event. Impact champion Christian Cage and Kazarian versus AEW World Champ Kenny Omega and Brandon Cutler. Cage took out Nakazawa at ringside after he hit Kazarian with a laptop, but that allowed Omega to lay Kazarian out with a clothesline. Cutler did some bad bad dance moves and they cost him control of the match. Omega dropped off the apron to avoid a tag, so Cutler had to deal with Cage by himself. Leclerc pulled Christian to the ring post, but the referee was distracted, but he missed a V-trigger and hit Cutler by mistake. Cage hit Cutler with a kill switch for the victory. This was an okay match, but I just don't see the point in Cutler's in the long term. Yeah, he's cannon fodder now, but what else, you know? And then after went off the air, CM Punk came down for a fun interaction with Christian. What were your thoughts, on Cutler and this main event?
Yeah, I think that Cutler really is just kind of acting like cannon fodder at the moment. I really do wonder, again, he's one of those wrestlers that I don't know where things are going to go for him in terms of his storyline and how long it's going to take until he's, being featured properly and in proper wrestling matches. You know, he used to come out like with a dragon mask on and stuff like that, and now he comes out with a face mask on. I feel like that gimmick's a little bit getting outdated and a bit outworn with that sort of face mask thing and the spray. But I mean, we'll see, because there's going to be a downfall when it comes to the Elite at some point. So hopefully this might mean like it will open up a few more doors for Brandon.
Also on, I think Rampage and Dynamite, Twitter nearly exploded when we saw the initials AC on the shoes of CM Punk, and everybody think it's a sign for Adam Cole. And he said in an interview,
I mean, what did you do?
Well, he said AC on my shoes and CF on the other foot. AC is always Chicago and CF is Chicago forever. Now, that might be true, but they are still teasing us, because we saw BW as well, didn't we? I think Kenny Omega. But I quite like that, because it's Easter eggs that people want to pay attention to.
Exactly. And I think it's just a bit of fun, to actually see wrestlers actually putting the effort in to just chuck these little Easter eggs in and it, wondering whether or not we will find them. So it is really interesting. And if they want to troll us, I mean, let them, because they're doing their jobs great, and the content that they're giving us is always, forever surprising us. So if he wants to keep on trolling us with this always Chicago stuff, that's fine. And then when we see Adam Cole maybe a few weeks later, we'll know you were trolling us, and we appreciate that.
Right now. All right, so the last Dynamite before now, and it's September 1st. It's the 100th episode. Incredible when you think about 100 episodes of Dynamite already, and the show hyping up this, an FTR, Cash Win and Dax Harwood versus Proud and Powerful. A strong start by the babyfaces, but Cash Win and Dax Harwood isolated Santana, cutting him off for his partner. Hot tag to Ortiz sparked the comeback, and then back and forth action led to FTR delivering a big rig to Ortiz, only for Santana to break up the pinfall. Moments later, the Inner Circle teammates put Wheeler away with a combination cutter, code breaker, followed by reverse flapjack for the win. FTR eating tribute on their trunks, really, really nice, and JR talking nonsense. But what do you think of this?
I enjoyed this match, and I think that both teams are great wrestlers. And I'm just kind of happy with sort of the outcome of this match, because Proud and Powerful for me are another tag team that I feel probably are underlooked and could have been in the tag team tournament as well. And so just kind of having them finally get a win over FTR is something that I have been waiting for. They've lost a couple of times to them now, so I was really hoping they were going to get that win, and so I was pleased with the opening and thought that it was great for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, this was good, but I think I've got such high hopes that when I see it, I go, oh. And I don't know if it's FTR maybe a step slower or what it is, but I'm waiting to click. And when it does click, I think it's going to be incredible. Credit to Proud and Powerful. Like, we're limited to make the kind of most of it. Because like we talk about, that tag team stack.
It is. And it's very easy to sort of struggle with who should actually be in the tag team tournament or not. But it does just mean more for us as the audience. We get that chance to see so many different teams. It is so stacked, and I wouldn't have it any other way, because I absolutely love tag team wrestling, and AEW has just got a strong plethora of teams right now.
It's, yeah, like I said, the best tag team wrestling is in AEW, hands down. Yes, you could get pissy about the referee, but as soon as AEW come out and go, look, the referee's there just to count the fall, then all this other thing about how long on the ring and count outs, all that kind of all goes away, you know. But tag itself, it is, like I said, there's nothing like a tag team match. And speaking of one of my favourite tag teams, 2.0, and Daniel Garcia cut promo backstage. Matt Lee tells Darby Allen to not look past their son, Garcia, and Jeff Parker is excited to take Allen Punk away from everybody. Daniel says he's going to hurt Darby, and it's not a shot that he makes it to All Out. Back from commercial, CM Punk makes his entrance. He asks if we're sick of him yet. No. And he says he can spend a few more months just soaking in the love. He's a little nervous and even scared on Sunday, but he's going to make a promise that every single time he laces up his boots and he comes down the aisles, he's going to give us the best. But then Daniel Garcia and 2.0 jump Punk and beat him down. Darby Allen and Stinger here to even the odds. They meet 2.0 in the arm, brawl with him. Punk back on his feet, mounted punches on Jeff Parker, coffin drop, scorpion death drop, and the go to sleep. Punk then goes forehead to forehead with Darby, pork out the ring, and sees the floor to Sting. Sting gets on the mic, says he always wanted to share a ring with Punk. He's got a lot of respect for him. The path never did cross, but that was then, and this is now. And it's really good to watch someone go to sleep before his own eyes. The coffin drop and the scorpion death drop also felt good, and it's just good to clear traffic because the same goal in mind. On Sunday when they clash, Sting will not be there to let those two fight mano e mano. I really love the first GTS for 7 years, and I don't mind saying I called it the previous week as well. What were your thoughts?
Again, a really enjoyable way of ending things. I really, do you know what I got a vibe of? Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. You know, when they both kept on, like Triple H was and his sort of motley crew were constantly getting involved and stuff like that. But towards the build-up of WrestleMania, where The Rock and Stone Cold were facing off, and they kept on saying, I'm just looking out and making sure you're staying 100% before our match. And I got that same sort of vibe coming from CM Punk and Darby Allin. Like, they both are itching to get in the ring and face against one another. But they both also are kind of like, no, I'm not going to have it so that you're injured through other people before our match, you know? So it was just a very exciting way to end things. I really enjoyed it. And just hearing Sting even have that sort of respect to say, you know, I will come and just, you know, say hi and leave him out there and head in the back. It just means that it's more going to be about just those two. And I think that that's probably a wise decision, because who wouldn't get distracted by seeing Sting? I know I would.
Without a doubt, like I said, wrestling is so easy sometimes. You know, with the story Darby Allin and CM Punk, a guy who used to be best in the world, 7 years away, has come back and looks at a guy who's potentially could be the best in the world in the future, and they both want to be number one. There can only be one. It's simple, it's effective, and about more times than most. We then get a video package of Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage, and then back commercial. MJF is interviewed by Tony Schiavone. Tony admits he's uncomfortable, and MJF rattles off most of Chris Jericho nicknames for across the 4-decade career. He's constantly evolved to stay on top of the mountain as the greatest of all time, whether to cares to admit it or not. He's in the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, but don't get it twisted. By the time MJF is done, he'll take his place. It's ironic that the same yearning for the spotlight that brought him to the dance, but the reason his music dies. Again, MJF, I'm not saying, but it's one of the best promos, obviously, in wrestling at this moment.
Yeah, as much as, you know, he is a horrible, horrible person, I think that there's some level of you that's got to give the respect where it's due. And, you know, his promos are very fire. So, yeah, you kind of just can start to believe everything that he's saying. At one point, you know, a lot earlier on, you could say that MJF was just all talk. But, you know, slowly but surely, this is what they've been building up to. It's like now everyone's actually thinking, is what he's saying actually going to happen because of, you know, how things have been going for him lately? So we'll see.
That's interesting. And Jack Evans versus Orange Cassidy next. Matt Hardy jumped Cassidy prior to his bout against Jack Evans, put fresh squeeze on the defensive early against the Hardy family office member. Evans controlled the contest, cutting off mid-match comeback and dominating throughout the commercial break. It was during the same break that Cassidy caught Evans with a real quick, small package for the win. Post-match, Evans argues with referee Bryce Rimsberg over finish until Matt Hardy runs down to beat Orange up. Best friends make the save. The rest of the HFO join the party and overwhelm the babe faces. And the Jurassic Express even the odds in turn. I don't mind the match ending during a break because it shows anything can happen. But do you think Orange Cassidy's losing momentum a little?
Slightly. And I think it's because of the type of feuds that he's getting into at the moment aren't drawing as much traction, and I'm not sure whether or not it's because maybe it's just not working with the feuds that he has got. I think the ones that he's had before have always impacted well. I think there's just a lot happening in AEW at the moment, and as much as I continuously love Orange Cassidy, the best friends, and everything that they're doing, I just think that I feel like he's been kind of put on the back burner, so to speak.
Yeah, I would agree there. Like I said, but again, the roster is getting more and more stacked. We talk about tag team division, talk about singles competition as well. It's going to be difficult to kind of find place there. Well, we get Eddie Kingston with a video package telling Miro's neck is a weak point. He's going to go after it to take the TNT Championship for him. They're going to walk through hell together. Maybe if he survives that, he can go into his God's heaven. Miro says he only stays down for his wife in a hotel room. And after victory, he's bringing agony with him as we go to a break. This can be good stuff. Are you disappointed? Because I know, like you talk about, you're a huge Eddie fan. Should this have had more build to it? Because I think they both men were delivered as well.
Yeah, I do agree. I feel like this feud should have started a different way. However, I think that they're doing the best with what they've got in such short amount of time to be promoting this feud. I think it should have started a bit earlier on. That being said, I'm hoping that is going to be one of like the most standout matches at All Out.
Well, back for commercial, we get a John Moxley promo where he says he's a little indignant that an old man, Satsuri Kojima, would think he could challenge him, but he's going to go into Cincinnati with his scalp. And then Jim Ross is in the ring to interview Chris Jericho, calls him a future Hall of Famer. That's the other company, Jim. We haven't got a Hall of Fame in AEW. The 50-year-old put the history of AEW, alluded Dynamite on 100 episodes, said he could not continue his career knowing he couldn't beat MJF. Jericho said his career isn't over. He doesn't want it to be, an MJF will have to be his. If he ever have been come Sunday, even then he added it won't be enough because MJF isn't a man enough to take him out. And like we talked about, Jericho sure can cut a promo, but it's enough talking. This, I think it needs.
It does, and I think this is going to be sort of the ultimate node as to how things are going to end between the two of them. I'm still not sure how I feel about what the outcome could be, because I don't think that I can say that I'm ready to see Jericho in a permanent position on the commentator's desk rather than in the ring. However, I'm also worried because I feel like you're just going to drop the ball a little bit if MJF doesn't win this. So I don't know where things are going with this. This one, I'm less excited for it and I'm more anxious about, because I just don't know where things are going to go for either man.
They've backed themselves in the corner with this one, haven't they? That's the problem. We'll see where it can go. We get Darby Allen getting a video package, admits that when he was 15, CM Punk was his favourite. But 7 years ago, he left, and that's when Darby Allen became a wrestler. He says Punk's really looking over him because he might have seen what he can do in the ring, but he can't feel it. And now Allen has the impossible: beat CM Punk in Chicago or die trying. And then Powerhouse Will Hobbs makes his entrance, accompanied by Hook, but Brian Cage even blindsides him and beats him down for the match begins. So Cage versus Hobbs, and we see Hobbs overcome an early pre-match attack. Obviously, Cage fought back in the match, sent his opponent to the mat with an explosive suplex, and then Taz's son Hook provided a distraction, and Hobbs sent him face first into the FTW title held by Ricky Starr. Finish him off with Town Business. Brian Cage, it's just not working. Hobbs really green but showing potential. What did you?
Yeah, agree with you right there. I think that Will Hobbs has just got this real potential to kind of just become just as a beast mode as Miro. I quite enjoyed it. I felt like the match could have gone a bit longer, and I kind of would like to actually just see them both just let loose without having any interactions or distractions coming from the rest of Team Taz. I quite wouldn't mind if these two were just put into a steel cage and then you just let them go at it. There's something about Will Hobbs I'm really liking as a wrestler. And I just, every time I do hear his music hit, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the ring. And I feel like Brian Cage has like this untapped sort of raw berserker type persona that is just going to really snap soon. He's just really going to have enough with Team Taz, and just I think at one point he is just going to wipe the floor with them. But I think that there's a lot of build up to that happening.
Yeah.
Whether or not this worked in Cage's favor in terms of how he's coming across to the audience, I'm not really sure, because right now I feel like there's more, from my opinion, there's more traction coming towards Team Taz and Will Hobbs, rather than me seeing it as an outcome where Brian Cage is going to come out on top.
Yeah,
but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, like I said, for me at the moment, it feels like we go back to like the Nation of Domination, like a vehicle for Ricky Starks, and it doesn't really matter about, because we're not talking about him, we're talking about the kind of this new star. But anyway, Malachi Black cuts a Lee Johnson. He claims he left the ring not to avoid John. He dictates when they fight. He's given him 7 days so he is merciful to Cody, Arn, and Brock. And at the end of it, he'll put coin in his eyes and pay the boat's toll. This shit. And then, unfortunately, it was strong, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What wasn't was Cutie, Marshall, and the Factory calling Paul White out to the ring. The Giant dominated the Hills for being joined by Billy, Austin, and Colton Gunn. And then in a surprise move, Billy blasted White with a steel chair to the hip, and then one to the face. Marshall re-entered the ring and drops him with a cutter to try and drum up some heat for the match on Sunday. So Hill Guns, their win-loss record is great, but who does care about this?
I mean, this came out of nowhere for me, so I really don't understand what the reasoning behind Billy's and his son's heel change has been. I'm not really sure if this is actually just a bit too much in this storyline. We've already got a sort of Paul White against one faction as it is, and so now adding 3 more seems a bit excessive. I can't say that I was quite excited by this. I actually felt sorry for Paul White because he looked genuinely devastated when Billy hit him with the chair. And I can't say that I'm excited about this because, how long do we think that, Big Show can keep doing this in the ring? So this to me is already setting up another feud that's going to come after QT. So it's kind of like, it feels like it was the wrong time to be heel turning Billy. If they were going to do something with him with Paul White, I think they should have waited until after All Out, after he's dealt with QT Marshall's crew.
Literally, it's just come to me now. But we talk about Malachi Black needing someone to step up. What about Paul White? And then at least that match then is you could sell that, and a black mass to Paul White knocking him out cold. It will be a fantastic visual as well,
It could be, yeah, definitely. I think that maybe that should have been sort of his saving grace, for Paul White to have come out and make the save to one of the Nightmare Factory pawns that, Malachi Black has. It would have probably been nice for him to have come out for the save after Brock and Arn Anderson were sort of decimated by him. That would have been a good save.
But QT facials are good, but the only reason he's in that position is because, obviously, of Cody Rhodes. But then Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, is interviewed by Tony Schiavone. She talks about how Rebel can win the Battle Royal. The title ain't going anywhere, and as far as Chris Statlander goes, a free agent just signed a major multi-year contract, and that free agent is her. Tony Khan let her book any match she wanted as part of the deal, so Chris had a handicap match against Jamie Hayter and Reba on Friday. Ha! Free agent, wink. And then Penelope Ford versus Tay Conti. Conti attacked early, Ford downed her low, wrestled the upper hand away, heading to break. The action broke down, and Conti forward the bunny distraction and pinned Ford with a roll-up. And after the match, the Hills beat her down until Dark Order's Anna Jay made a return and chased them off. I mean, these two women are still developing, calling spots and real roughness, but hope Tay can only get better. I think Eva Marie's a better worker than Penelope Ford.
I actually think that Penelope Ford has been getting better in the ring. There was a couple matches where I felt like that she's been sort of expanding sort of her moves. And I actually think that there's no woman that could be as bad as Eva Marie. Eva Marie does not even try in that ring. She does not even try. I cannot even. You can't tell me otherwise. Okay, Eva Marie is probably the worst person to actually describe as a female wrestler, because that actually means that she wrestles. She doesn't. She actually doesn't. So, I mean, I don't mind Penelope Ford. I think that obviously she is still developing within the ring. So I don't think it's not like I think she's all that or she's got a lot going for her. But I think that she tries a lot harder than the likes of Eva Marie.
I will agree to disagree, but with Ford, it's just, I don't know, and there's a lot of developing in the women's division that needs to be done, and it just, more matches, more spotlight, you know, and the confidence will come. We've seen it working, I swear. And then we see Thunder Rosa his interview backstage. See another one that could have just been in the match, but instead in, and she can answer Vicky Guerrero, Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill roll up. Rose asks, she's really trying to intimidate her, and she's going to go down swinging. Rose and Cargill put boots to her and then square up until Sterling gets between them and says no sense doing this now because they make a lot of money on Sunday. And the main event, Jurassic Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, Luchasaurus and the Lucha Brothers versus the Elite, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Matt and Nick Jackson. The match breaks down early with Elite beating everybody down. Go to a break just as the babyface are rallying. We get a ferocious comeback and a hot tag to Phoenix, but the comeback, obviously, like we talked about. And after Phoenix's flurry, Luchasaurus took the fight to the opposition, including a standard moonsault. Brandon Cutler got involved and he cost the babyfaces a win. A late comeback attempt by Phoenix fell as the Bucks put him down with a Meltzer driver for the win. And AEW World Champ Kenny Omega made his way to the ring, stomping down the Lucha Brothers. Instructing the Good Brothers to drive Luchasaurus through a table. Christian Cage hit the ring to make the save, but quickly found himself in the end of a beatdown. Omega ordered the steel cage to be lowered, and the Elite proceeded to beat down their all-out opponents. Babe Freeman attempted to make the save, but the Hills held them off to close the show. So NWO for life. I mean, the action itself was too sweet, but the shenanigans. I mean, talk about cage mistreated in a cage. First of all, what do you think of the match, and then what happened after?
I mean, overall, it was just kind of just all pelts of excitement. Everything that happened after was just utter chaos. I mean, I didn't even. Did you recognize Kenny Omega?
It's just blue hair.
Right. But I did not recognize for ages when I saw him like sort of making his way into the ring. I was going, "Who is that? No, who is that? Seriously." I did not recognize it being him. So, I mean, that was definitely a shock, but it was just utter chaos with like the cage having, Brandon Cutler just spraying people off of the steel cage that were trying to get in. Gosh, my heart was racing when I saw how high Marco Stunt was and he was getting sprayed all in the face. I was like, someone needs to catch this boy. This child is about to fall off. I was terrified for him. But at the end of the day, I feel like it just did its job. It just left me wanting more, left me wanting to see all the good guys finally get like run over on the bad guys. And that is, I'm hoping, going to be, a lot of the results that come out of All Out, So in terms of build up towards the pay-per-view, I felt like this worked really well.
I hope, but the thing with the NWO and a bit like the Elite is that they probably will come out on top on the pay-per-view as well. So Cage getting a beating like that with the Lucha Bros as well just takes away because the face is never on top.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know because when it comes to Cage, he already got his win with Impact, so I'm not sure he's going to get another win over Kenny. However, when it comes to the Lucha Brothers, I really do have a very strong feeling that they could potentially come out on top at All Out. So, from that point of view, that's how I'm looking at it.
Well, like I said, we'll do predictions and run through the card after Rampage in a minute. But that episode of Dynamite did average over 1 million viewers as well. So again, it is doing quite well for this moment in time with TV. And we move to September 3rd, Rampage, the results. Of course, Excalibur, Taz, Mark Henry, Chris Jericho run down the card. We see Malachi Black defeating Lee Johnson via pinfall. Johnson gave a hell of a fight, but took a kick to the face, then was offered a steel chair by Black. He showed Lee his back and baited him into picking up the chair, then put him down with the Black Mass kick. We see Dustin Rhodes running to prevent Black from inflicting more punishment onto Johnson. But as for with this match, I think Black gave Lee a little bit too much maybe in this one. But the Black Mass hit perfectly. Is there another finisher that just looks as nice?
I don't know. I don't think there is. And I think it's the way that he actually delivers it. It's just with such perfection. You can see, his real martial arts background as a result of that finishing move, and it just looks devastating.
It really does. We see Mark Henry interviewing Dustin backstage. He says Malachi Black has relied on surprise throughout his AEW run, but Wednesday on Dynamite, Black will see him coming. And then TNT champion Miro's out. He talks about Eddie Kingston needing redemption for taking a charity contract. Kingston has become a bag boy for Jon Moxley. That brings Eddie out to say he doesn't believe in Miro's God. If he existed, he wouldn't have shown Kingston that Miro's weakness is his neck, and all his moves target his neck. Miro tells Eddie he's getting him tonight. Kingston tells him to redeem these nuts and rushes to the ring, but the champ rolls out. He lures him in, then belts him with a belt. Back in the ring, he tries to stomp Eddie onto the belt, but Kingston evades and hits a spinning back fist. DDT's the champ, and Kingston. We could have had a month, and instead we've only had like a week and a half,
I know. These two, talking trash to each other is just highly entertaining. And it's just one of those ones that I'm not ready for it to be over. The build-up could have been just so much more. And I just wanted more coming from them. I love both these wrestlers, and I think that they've got such incredible talent. It has left me very excited to see them finally get at it in the ring at All Out.
Without doubt. Chris Statlander defeated Rebel and Jamie Hayter when she made Rebel tap. It's a real powerhouse showcase for Dr. Britt Baker's all-out challenger. At one point, she had both opponents up for a slam. The Hills formerly Alien, but Red Velvet was out for and a bit of a negative reaction. I'm trying to think who's more liked. Red Velvet in AEW or MSK in NXT at the moment.
Honestly, I believe in that too. I find it very unfortunate for Red Velvet because I think it purely has stemmed from, her being the opponent for Britt Baker. Yeah. And it's just never let up for her. I really feel for her. One day, maybe, the crowd will get over her. But I don't, as far as Britt Baker as champion, I don't think that she should, try and go for the belt again because she's just going to get forever hated on.
Exactly. Just switch heel. It's easier than switch face again in like a few months' time. Everybody's forgotten about it. And we get during a rundown of All Out card, we see Jon Moxley getting Kojima's face at a press conference. Mark Henry interviews the main eventers 2.0. He's tired of everyone overlooking their son in the excitement for Darby Allen versus CM Punk on Sunday. Danny said he's going to make sure Allen doesn't make it to All Out. Darby said he's going to go through Garcia and right up the ramp to stare Punk at the commentary table. Cult of personality time. Punk dives in the crowd and turns around, and a guy is offering him a beer. Now, even a guy has had too much to drink or has never ever heard of CM Punk. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, we got to remember, that kind of thing only worked with two people, and that is Stone Cold and Hangman Page. Yeah. Why he thought to offer him a beer like he was his mate, especially when with what is going on in the world, Why would you offer him your beer? It was very baffling.
It
very
was hilarious. If that guy, if none of his mates have a go at that guy from now to the end of time, they're not doing a job right. Give me the guy's email address. I'll send him that.
You know, just like we'll give him an email and let him know why that was all kinds of wrong.
It's like giving Zach Gowen a pair of trainers. Do you know what I mean? Like it's something that we're saying it. I mean, like I said, Paralympics have been on. Have been fantastic for everything as well. You know, that's not a dig at any. But just trying to think, you couldn't. You know, like any other wrestler, maybe. But in the main event, Darby Allen defeated Daniel Garcia with a roll-up after hitting red code. During the match, he hit a Pepsi twist and locked eyes with Punk, who said, "Not bad, kid." After the match, 2.0 John Garcia put the boots to Allen. Punk tries to leave the clean up to Sting, but eventually heads down to the ring as the crowd goes wild. He backs Matt Lee and Jeff Parker up right into a suicide dive from Darby, and the All Out foes go head-to-head as Rampage ends. So we are, like we said, as we're now just a few hours away from All Out. How do you think AEW with Dynamite and Rampage, we've just gone through it, how do you think they've built the pay-per-view now? What's your kind of level for excitement after Dynamite and Rampage?
I mean, I definitely say my level of excitement there. I've been the hugest fan of AEW since they very beginning, since they very first aired. And this really feels like a big, important pay-per-view, you know? So my excitement level is very, very up there. I was very disappointed to hear that we're not getting Pac versus Andrade at All Out, but I do see that as a blessing in disguise in terms of, you know, them having a pretty stacked card for All Out, and as you said previously, how long it's going to be. So I don't think that is a bad thing that we've had one match taken off. Although I am disappointed as to which match it was.
Well, speaking about that, and like I said, we're going to run through the card now. Yeah, Pac and Andrade is not there. Apparently, it's Pac who can't make the match, and it's very similar issues to Sasha Banks. Now, I'm not really sure what's going on, but Sasha Banks is known as an...
What does that mean?
Well, apparently, Sasha Banks is an anti-vaxxer. So if Pac is the same... and then they're not being vaccinated, then again, if they do they're open for COVID. And like we talked about, it is here more than ever before. Those are just the rumours. And like I said, you can take that with a pinch of salt, but there's a Pac's not there. They have announced Andrade versus Pac for Rampage on Friday. So that should be a hell of a match.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm actually pleased that we are still getting, it's just going to be at a different time, you know?
Yeah. I think what's important here is the running order. And Tony Khan said he's got the running order sorted out. So we're going to just run through the matches. And I want predictions. We're going to do predictions, both of us now. And, of course, we'll challenge the ultimate one. It could be a triple threat when I do the review of him next weekend. So we'll start off. And the buy-in match has been added. It's Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Wheeler Yuta and Jurassic Express versus Matt Hardy, Private Party and TH2. Who are you going to go for?
So I'm going to go for the Jurassic Express team. I think that this is going to be one of those real feel-good type of matches that is just kind of warm the audience up until we get to the main pay-per-view. This is just going to be something that's a little bit of fun, so I'm not taking it too seriously.
No, I agree. Like I said, Jurassic Express and Orange Cassidy, they cannot lose in this opener, so that's what I'm going to go for in that one. We've got 21 Women Casino Battle Royale. Hikaru Shida, Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa, Jay Cargill, The Bunny, Ty Conte, Penelope Ford, Red Velvet, Big Swole, Emi Sakura, Julia Hart, Diamante, Kira Hogan, Abdomen, Layla Hirsch, Keelan King, Rio, Rebel, Jamie Hayter, Anna Jay, +1. Who do you think your +1 is, and who do you think is going to win this one?
Okay, so I'm going to go with two answers, right? And hear me out. I'm going to go with the fact that I think that this +1 is going to be Ruby Soho, and if it is her, then she is my pick to win. Right. However, if it isn't her, then I'm actually going to go with the likes of that's difficult, but I'm going to go with Ty Conti. I feel like she's underrated. It's between her and Layla Hirsch. I feel like both of those two have like a pretty good chance at being the winner here if Ruby Soho isn't the +1.
Well, I think Ruby Soho will be the joker in the pack, but I think she'll kind of get her and Jade Cargill might get into it, and leading to Thunder Rosa winning the match. Because if we don't have Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker at a pay-per-view for the AEW Women's Championship by the end of the year, I'll quit wrestling.
No, that's very true. I mean, we all are waiting now that Britt's got that belt on her around her waist. We are all waiting to have Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker again, because that unsanctioned main event that they had was just incredible. So you know what, you might have this one this round.
Hey, what can I say? No, up next, Paul White versus Cutie Marshall. I'll take this one quite simple. Paul White wins 2 minutes, maybe that. Couple of chokeslams for the rest of the factory. Job done. Hopefully nothing too offensive. What you
see? I'm going to disagree with you on that note. I'm going to actually go with QT winning, and the only reason why I think that is because of this heel turn with the Gun Club. I think that there's going to be major involvement. I think that this is going to be sort of like a major beatdown session on Paul White, and I think that ultimately the outcome is going to be QT stealing that win.
Wow. So this is why predictions are so much fun. Up next then, Jon Moxley, Satsui Kojima. Who you favouring? What do you think?
I mean, because if I've not seen Kojima wrestle that much, I'm going to go with Jon Moxley as the winner here. However, I will be really surprised and pleasantly surprised if he ends up picking up the win on it.
Another big match now. And this will say there's a few big matches on this show, and it's all about where the placement on the card is. Up next, Chris Jericho versus MJF. If Jericho loses, he will never wrestle in AEW again. I'll take this one because obviously we try and take it in turns. Let me talk about this. This has not filled me with excitement, this match, because we've seen it so many times. But I'm going to say, if Jericho loses, he'll never wrestle in AEW again. I don't think that's going to happen. So I am going to say Chris Jericho for this one. Fuck it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. As much as I feel like this whole thing has been to build up MJF as the ultimate heel, I also don't want to believe, or don't actually believe myself, that this is it for Jericho. So I'm going to go with Jericho.
Up next, the AEW TNT title on the line. Miro, Eddie Kingston. I know how much of a fan of Eddie Kingston you are. This should be like a piss, I would say. What were your thoughts, and where do you think it's going to go?
Again, one of my most anticipated matches is this and another, which we'll get to, I'm sure. But I cannot wait to see them in the ring. My level of excitement for this is probably at a 9, with how things have been left. And I am going to go with Miro winning this and retaining. But I think it's going to be an absolute brawl.
Yeah, I'm going to say Miro, but barely. You're like, this is going to be... Yeah. Miro's going to be... He's going to know he's going to be in the fight.
He's going to be pushed to his limit. I think Eddie Kingston is really going to push him to that limit, as I said before, the best way to describe him is unhinged. So I feel like Miro is definitely going to have like that rude awakening of being like, shit, I need to work for this, But I think ultimately, he'll come out on top.
Yeah, like I said, Miro wins that one. Up next, AEW Women's Championship. Britt Baker, Dr. D versus Chris Statlander. Now, Statlander's been great, but due to the kind of outside interference and Baker just being on the roll of her life, I think this is quite an easy one. I think Baker retains. But this could possibly not steal the show. Cause I think, we look at it, but this could be a lot better than people are expecting.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with you that I think that Baker is still going to come out of this on top. She's on a roll. Like, you'd be quite crazy probably to take the belt off of her right now when she's this much of a heated persona. However, Chris Statlander is a very good wrestler, and I really enjoy watching her strength in the ring. I think that this will definitely test Britt Baker, and I think that this is going to be a perfect opportunity for Britt's colleagues to get themselves involved continuously. This is going to test Britt to her limit. but I think it's going to be an overall good match that she does come out on top of.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. Up next, the AEW World Tag Team titles, the steel cage match, the Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers. And let's not forget All Out 2 years ago, the ladder match. The destroyer off the top of the ladder, one of the craziest things I've ever seen in professional wrestling. They're going to try and up that in a cage match. Who do you think? Because this is one of them that I'm kind of 50-50 with. I see that I think the Young Bucks need to lose the title. I don't know if the Lucha Brothers are the right team, especially what we've seen with Jurassic Express.
So I'm going to go with the Lucha Brothers. I think that they have a high chance of winning this. And I think that this will be like the beginning of the downfall of the Elite. That's kind of how I'm taking things at this point. When it comes to all of the members of the Elite, I feel like it's going to start with the Young Bucks losing the titles. So I'm going to go with Lucha Brothers.
I think that's a great shout, but I just think, I don't know. I've been Lucha Brothers, but I'm going to back the Young Bucks. I don't know why. I just think they're going to come through and the Elite is still going to be there and it's all going to come crashing down at full gear. One thing I want to say, and my prediction for this match, I hope Rey Fenix does an Alex Skipper from the top of the cage where he runs across it and hits like either a Hurricane Rana or something like that. I think that will be one of the most amazing visuals ever.
It probably would. And knowing Rey Fenix, I'm sure he's going to surprise us with something. So something like that would be amazing.
That'd be incredible. Right, 2 matches left. Up next, the AEW World title. AEW World title on the line. Kenny Omega, the champ, versus Christian Cage. This should be a great match, but is this just so predictable?
I feel like it is. And I feel like it's because we've seen this title match happen already. In which he's kind of already won a title, so it kind of the build up isn't as there as it probably would have been if this was the first time they were facing off against one another. So I'm just unsure as to how the audience will react during this match. But I'm gonna go with Kenny Omega on this one.
Yeah, I think I've got to go Kenny Omega. Just because, like I said, one-on-one then he can lead to another match between the two once Christian maybe drops the Impact World title and Omega can get his another win or whatever they want to do there. And then finally, the real main event of All Out after 7 years away. CM Punk makes his pay-per-view return against Darby Allen. This should be incredible. This should be main event. There's a lot of talk of Punk putting Allen maybe over. I don't think that's right. I think a GTS 1, 2, 3, and then the kind of show respect at the end with both hands raised. That reaction there will be incredible. That's what I think was going to happen. What do you think is going to happen in the match? And I'll wait for the other question. What do you think is going to happen in the match?
I think that this is going to be one that they both kind of are working their butts off towards each other. I don't think that this is going to be any form of squash match or anything. I think that CM Punk is really going to be tested in this match, and I'm really highly anticipated to see kind of how things turn out for both men.
I think without a doubt, it's CM Punk's going to win. Right, final question then. Do you think there's only going to be, we've talked about Ruby Soho, do you think there's going to be any more surprises at All Out? There's been a lot of rumours about Daniel Bryan. Do you think we may see him, and where would you put him if he was going to show up?
Oh, that's a difficult one, because I do actually see him turning up at All Out. And I know this might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I can see him sort of maybe making a save during the Christian match. So I'm going to place him maybe, revealing his entrance maybe during or just after Kenny Omega and Christian's match.
Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, Daniel Bryan, if he shows up after CM Punk and have a face-off, that's great. But again, and I want AEW to try and work away from a little bit. It's like the Christian Matt Hardy feud, where they've got 23 years of history. Yeah, all within a kind of another company. Like, if they do Punk and Bryan, then they'll probably mention like Ring of Honor, but people will be like, well, this is what they did in WWE. If Bryan shows up with Kenny Omega and says, oh, you're meant to be the best, here I go, that's going to be great. But I just worry about Adam Page. As long as he's in that full gear
Yeah.
main event, the AEW World title, it's fine. But I don't know if they'll
See,
do Bryan versus Omega on
this
like a
is what
Dynamite.
I'm thinking. No, I'm thinking more the case of it being like Daniel Bryan coming out for the save, but then maybe Hangman being the one to come out for the save for Daniel Bryan. That's kind
That'd be
of
cool, yeah.
how I'm seeing it as. But I mean, yeah, I think I see him more turning up if he was to turn up in the Kenny Omega match. And again, I'm just going to point out that Kenny Omega was wearing like sort of like that dragon T-shirt, and that was like a reference towards Daniel Bryan, or a lot of people were saying that was a reference to his sort of like American dragon type character he had. So it would just be really exciting to kind of see him come out to make the save for Christian if that ends up being the case that he needs the save, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. And like we said, we've talked about it now for the last couple of hours. We do Dynamite and Rampage. All that is left to do, sit down and enjoy this pay-per-view and hope it delivers, you know, which should be incredible. And like I said, WNR will have a fit next weekend with the Ultimate One. And of course, we'll get Jaxie's thoughts next time we speak to her as well. But don't forget, we're across all social media. Twitter, at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. Do you want to just plug yourself, Jaxie?
Yeah, I'm across Instagram and Twitter, so come find me and come follow. I'll follow back. I'm at Jaxie Scarlett.
The WNR also on Facebook and Instagram, across all Google platform podcasts at gmail.com. With all the latest clips and podcasts at the same time on YouTube, and they do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Don't forget the charity fundraiser is still up on Facebook. If you want to see me clean shaven and, well, if you want to see me look like Dr. Evil, then put your money in on Facebook. Let's get this job done. We can get that sorted out. And Jaxie, the next time you'll be with us will be the end of the month, where unfortunately it is WWE and it's Extreme Rules.
Yes. Look forward to
it. Yeah. And the next, like I said, the next WNR podcast will be All Out with the Ultimate One. But until then, I have been James Rose, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Again, thank you very much for joining me and making this such an excitable couple of hours.
Always fun.
Always, yes. I was going to say, always good. So, yeah, that is it, everybody. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.